Soledad O'Brien. Welcome to Matter of Fact. This week, GOP leader Paul Ryan is planning to bring two competing immigration bills to a vote. He's hoping to diffuse a brewing fight within his own party. One faction that wants an immigration crackdown, another faction of moderate Republicans that want legal status for so-called dreamers, the undocumented immigrants who came to this country as children. We told you a few weeks ago that moderates in the party were planning a Queen of the Hill vote, an obscure procedure that would have forced a vote on DACA. This action on immigration comes as the Trump administration is cracking down on illegal immigration and promising to prosecute anyone who enters the country illegally, imposing new limits on who can get asylum in this country and separating children from their parents at the border. Democratic Representative Pramila Jayapal of Washington State became one of the very first members of Congress to meet with a group of asylum-seeking mothers whose children were taken from them at the border. It's so nice to have you back with us.
It's so great to be back with you.
So some of what we've seen and heard has been so horrific, frankly. Yeah. Talk to me about where you were and what you saw.
Well, we heard that there had been 206, well, we didn't know exactly how many, but over 200 individuals who were transferred from the Texas border to a federal prison just south of Seattle. 174 of the 206 were women. The others were men. I did not meet with the men. I hope to go back and do that. They were all asylum seekers, or largely asylum seekers. About half of them had children that had been forcibly removed from them.
They were describing to you what it was like to have a child literally taken out, a baby taken out of your arms. Can you tell me some of the stories that the women shared with you?
Yeah, all of them described never being able to say goodbye to their child. So they talked about things like they were in the same room as their children, and then they were told that they were going to be taken out for a photograph or be taken to court. And then when they came back, their children were no longer there. And they literally, in some cases, were in a room right next door to where their children were being held, so they could hear their children screaming for them. Never got a chance to say goodbye, to explain. Children as young as one, Soledad, 1 year old.
So when people say, hey, listen, by taking away children from their parents, we're trying to send a message, don't come.
Well, that's illegal. They've been trying to walk back some of those statements, but they're all over the press. But the Trump administration has made it clear that this is a deterrent. And in fact, some of the women told me that
even if you have a valid asylum claim.
Even if you have a valid asylum claim, it is absolutely illegal, and the courts have ruled on this, to hold people simply for deterrence purposes. And that's what they're doing.
What are the conversations that you have with your colleagues on both sides of the aisle about this? Because really, you don't hear a lot from Republican members of Congress defending this policy, which I think really does have the voting public up in arms.
We have jurisdiction over immigration. We've had no hearings on this. And you know what happened when I started talking about this is everyone looked very uncomfortable, and then everyone except the chairman left. It was an empty slate of chairs on the Republican side. I said, I know there are good colleagues on the other side, mothers and fathers, who are not going to be able to go home at night and tell their children why they didn't stand up and say anything. But unfortunately, that's all I'm hearing is dead silence from them. You're right, not a lot of standing up for the policy, but also not speaking out to end it. And that's what needs to happen right now.
How do you think it plays into the midterm elections? It might be a shrinking minority of a base, and yet it's powerful and easily motivated, and this is a hot button issue, and it sends people to the polls.
I will say I think it also revs up our base. And in polling that I've seen and that we have done ourselves in swing districts across the country, I think Republicans have to be very, very careful.
So do the Dems have to wait till the day they take back the House to work on immigration reform?
Well, we have solutions. Specifically around family separation. We have bills around detention reform. We have bills around dreamers. We have bills around immigration reform. The reality is that since we don't control the floor of the House or the Senate, we can't even get those bills heard. But I think it's important for us not to just be an opposition party, which we are in the minority, but also to be a proposition party and to say, this is our vision of the country. This is what we see. Put the bills out there, build the support for them with the public, and then ultimately, when we take control, be able to pass those bills.
Congressman Jayapal, nice to have you. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Soledad.